My girlfriend used my credit to buy a car with another man, so I took the keys back, sold it, and let her face the consequences alone. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and I've always believed that loyalty was the foundation of any relationship. For most of my life, that belief shaped everything I did, how I worked, how I loved, how I treated people. I wasn't rich or flashy, but I was steady. After years of scraping by on odd jobs, drowning in debt, and living paycheck to paycheck, I had finally managed to rebuild myself. My credit was improving, I had a stable job in it, and for the first time, I felt like my life was heading somewhere. That's when I met Mia. She had this confidence that could light up a room, sharp, witty, with eyes that made you feel seen. She was everything I wasn't, ambitious, spontaneous, and full of big ideas. I still remember how she'd laugh when I told her about budgeting spreadsheets, or how proud I was of paying off my last loan. "You're so responsible," she'd say, tracing her finger down my arm. "That's what makes you different." At first, she made me believe we were building something real. She'd talk about our future like it was already written, the house we'd buy, the vacations we'd take, the life we deserved after all the struggle. She made me dream beyond survival, and I loved her for it. I started saving more, planning more, because I wanted to give her everything she said she wanted. But looking back, there were moments that didn't sit right, times when her compliments felt rehearsed, or when her excitement about our plans was a little too conditional. Still, I ignored those instincts. Love makes you believe that trust can fix anything, and at that point, I truly believed it. I never imagined that the very thing I valued most, trust, would be the weapon that destroyed me. When Mia first brought up the idea of buying a car, it felt like another step forward in our shared future. We were having dinner one night, cheap takeout in her apartment, and she leaned across the table, her voice soft and persuasive. "You know, babe," she said, "if I had a car, I could finally take that promotion they've been offering me. The only reason I keep turning it down is the commute." I wanted to help her. I always did. She'd been there when I was rebuilding, so when she said she needed my support now, it felt fair. The only problem was her credit. "They won't approve me," she sighed dramatically, resting her head on my shoulder. "But your credit's perfect. We could do it together." Her words were sweet, almost casual, like it was just a formality between partners who trusted each other. I hesitated. Signing for something that big made my stomach tighten. But she cupped my face and whispered, "You're my rock, babe. We're a team, right?" And that word, team, was my weakness. I'd spent so long being alone, so long cleaning up after other people's mistakes, that hearing her say, "We felt powerful." So I did it. Signed. The car was under my name, but she promised she'd make every payment on time. For the first few weeks, she was ecstatic. She'd send me pictures of herself driving to work, the wind in her hair, calling me her hero. I remember feeling proud, almost smug, thinking I'd proven what kind of man I was: loyal, dependable, trustworthy. But soon, things began to shift. She started going out more, dressing up like every night was an event, and her phone was suddenly off limits. I told myself she just wanted to celebrate her new success. I wanted to believe that, but deep down, something told me this car wasn't just for her. It was for someone else. It started small little shifts I tried to brush off. Mia used to text me throughout the day, random miss you messages or pictures of her lunch with heart emojis. But now, her replies came hours later, always ending with sorry. Work's crazy. She began mentioning a new coworker. Jared, apparently, the funny guy in her department who helped her navigate office politics. The way she said his name made something twist in my gut. I told myself not to be paranoid, that I was just overthinking. But doubt has a way of settling into your bones when something's wrong. One evening, she called me from her car, laughing so hard she could barely speak. I asked what was so funny, and she said, "Oh, just Jared being Jared." The sound of his voice in the background hit me like static. I didn't say anything, but I couldn't shake the image of them together, her in that car I paid for, smiling at another man. When I mentioned it later, she rolled her eyes. "You're being insecure again," she said. "He's just a friend. Don't ruin this with jealousy." Her tone was sharp, colder than usual. I apologized, even though every part of me screamed not to. She kissed my cheek half-heartedly and said, "You worry too much." But the signs kept piling up. She'd come home late, claiming she stayed to finish reports. Once I noticed a faint smell of cologne in her car that wasn't mine, strong, musky, unfamiliar. My heart sank as I sat in the passenger seat pretending everything was normal. Then one afternoon, I drove past her office by coincidence. Sand froze. There it was, my car, parked outside a coffee shop, and behind the wheel wasn't Mia. It was Jared, smiling, leaning back like he owned it. That's when the first crack of truth split through my denial. Something was seriously, dangerously wrong. That night I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying that image of Jared behind the wheel, my car, my name on the papers, my debt. I wanted to believe there was an explanation, something innocent. But every rational thought led to one conclusion: Mia was lying to me. The next day, I decided I couldn't live with the uncertainty anymore. I needed proof. I created a fake Instagram account and started scrolling through her profile, pretending I was just another stranger. Mia was careful she never posted anything that looked suspicious. But Jared wasn't. His profile was wide open, full of smiling selfies and motivational quotes that made my skin crawl. And then I found it. A picture of Mia and Jared standing together beside my car. The caption read, "Finally hitting the road with my favorite person." My stomach turned. I zoomed in on the license plate. There it was, the same number I'd memorized when I signed the loan. She had given him my car. My hand shook as I scrolled further pictures of dinners, road trips, and late-night drives. Every image felt like a knife. I couldn't breathe. I called her immediately. "Where are you?" I asked, my voice tight. "Working late," she said. I stared at a photo posted 2 hours earlier of her in a sundress, laughing in the passenger seat. When I told her I'd seen everything, she didn't apologize. She laughed. "You're being dramatic," she said. "We're just friends. You really need to chill." I felt my blood boil. "Then why is he driving my car?" There was silence on the line. Then a calm, almost mocking tone. "Our car, you mean?" That moment broke something inside me. I realized it wasn't just betrayal, it was humiliation. And worse, it was public. She'd used me, and now she was proud of it. I hung up without another word. For the first time, I wasn't angry, I was numb. But that numbness, it was the beginning of something dangerous. The days after that call felt like walking through a fog I couldn't escape. I'd wake up, check my phone, and see her still posting pictures, smiling, laughing, living freely, while I was drowning in bills for a car I didn't even drive. The payment reminders came faster than my paychecks could handle. I'd open my credit app and watch my score drop with every overdue notice. It was like watching years of hard work burn in slow motion. I tried talking to her again. I thought maybe, somehow, she'd realize the damage she was causing. "Mia," I said over the phone, trying to stay calm, "you're missing payments. This is under my name. Do you understand what that means for me?" She sighed like I was inconveniencing her. "You're so dramatic." "I told you, I'll take care of it. You haven't?" I snapped. "You're 3 months behind?" "Well, maybe if you didn't stress me out so much, I'd have the time to fix things," she shot back. The casual cruelty in her voice stunned me. She hung up before I could respond. That night, I sat at my kitchen table surrounded by bills. The car loan, my rent, my utilities, it was all collapsing on me. My credit card was maxed out from covering her missed payments. I stared at the car documents with my name in bold, and I wanted to scream. What hurt most wasn't the money, it was realizing how icily she'd discarded. Once she got what she wanted, every "You're my rock" and "We're a team" had been rehearsed. I was never her partner. I was her backup plan. I started selling things, old electronics, furniture, even my gaming console, to stay afloat. Each sale felt like a piece of me disappearing, and through it all, Mia didn't call. Not once. That's when I realized this wasn't carelessness. It was calculated. And I was just beginning to understand how deep her betrayal really went. A week later, I got a call from a mutual friend, Jenna Sohm, who had always been close to both of us. Her voice trembled. "I don't know if I should tell you this," she said, "but you deserve to know." My chest tightened as she continued. "Mia's been living with Jared for months. That car, you're still paying for it, but it's parked at his apartment every night." For a second, I couldn't speak. My mind rejected it. But then everything clicked: the late nights, the missed payments, the sudden coldness. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a full-blown con. Jenna sent me screenshots of Mia's private story. Pictures of her and Jared at restaurants, beaches, even weekend trips. In one photo, Jared posed beside the car, his hand on the hood, captioned, "Couldn't have done it without her." My stomach twisted. Without her, it was my credit, my name, my money. Something in me snapped that day. I wasn't going to let her destroy everything I'd built. I spent the entire night gathering every piece of evidence I could find: loan documents, payment receipts, screenshots of her posts, and the messages we'd exchanged about the car. I even printed the photos Jenna sent me. Then I called an old college friend, Alex, who worked as a paralegal. I laid everything out for him. "She's using my name, my loan, and living with another guy," I said. "Can I do anything?" Alex sighed. "If the loan is under your name, technically the car's yours. If she's defaulting on payments, you can reclaim it. But do it quietly. Don't warn her." His words burned into me. Don't warn her. That night, I sat in silence, staring at a picture of Mia on my phone, smiling, radiant, untouchable. The same woman I once believed I'd marry. I deleted the photo. My heart was still breaking, but beneath the pain, something new began to grow: cold determination. If she thought she could use me and walk away smiling, she was about to learn who I really was. I spent the next week in quiet preparation. Every move I made was deliberate, calculated, just like hers had been. I wasn't impulsive anymore. I was patient. I waited until she missed another payment, the one that would legally allow the dealership to reclaim the car. And when the notice came through, I knew it was my turn to act. I drove to the dealership with the documents and hand loan papers. ID, proof of payments made under my name. The manager, a tired-looking guy in his 40s, skimmed through the papers, nodding. "You're the legal owner," he said. "If payments have defaulted, you can repossess it. You want us to handle it?" I shook my head. "No, I'll take care of it myself." 2 days later, Mia posted that she'd be gone for the weekend on a girls' trip. Perfect. I waited until nightfall and drove to Jared's apartment complex, parking a block away. The car was right there, gleaming under a streetlight. My name still printed on the registration inside the glove compartment. I stood there for a moment, breathing in the cold air, feeling my pulse in my throat. This wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. I used the spare key I'd kept, slid into the driver's seat, and started the engine. The hum of it felt like my heartbeat sinking back into rhythm. I drove away slowly, careful not to draw attention. With every block I passed, a weight lifted off my chest. For the first time in months, I felt control returning to my hands, literally. When I reached my place, I parked it in the garage and sat there in silence. The smell of her perfume still lingered on the seats. For a moment I thought I might break down again, but instead, I laughed. She thought she could use my name, my credit, my kindness. Now, all she had left were excuses, and I wasn't done yet. Because taking back the car was just the beginning, Mia showed up at my apartment 2 days later, pounding on the door so hard I thought it might crack. I opened it just enough to see her face red, furious mascara streaked like war paint. "Where's the car?" she screamed. "Don't play dumb with me. I know you took it." I stayed calm, leaning against the frame. "It's in my name, Mia. You stopped paying. I just took back what's mine." Her voice broke into a sob, but it wasn't sadness. It was rage. "You ruined my life. Jared left me because of this. You made me look stupid." I almost laughed. "No, Mia. You did that to yourself." She pushed past me, storming into my living room, her heels clicking against the floor like gunshots. "You're pathetic," she spat. "You think this makes you the good guy? You'll never find someone like me again." I looked at her. The same woman who once smiled at me in candlelight dinners now stood there, furious that her scheme had backfired. And for the first time, I didn't feel hurt, just tired. "You're right," I said quietly. "I don't want to." Her lip trembled, like she wasn't used to losing control. "You'll regret this," she whispered. "No," I said. "You will." She left, slamming the door so hard, the picture frames rattled. I stood there in the silence that followed, my hands shaking not from fear, but from release. I'd imagined this confrontation 100 times, and yet, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like grief for the version of me that believed her lies. That night, I sat in the car, staring at the dashboard. The perfume she used still clung to the upholstery. I rolled the windows down, letting the cold air wash it out. For the first time in months, I could breathe. But freedom, I realized, doesn't come without pain. And mine had only just begun to heal. In the weeks that followed, the fallout from Mia's choices unfolded like a slow-motion crash. Word spread fast. Apparently, Jared dumped her the same week she lost access to the car. Their little fantasy life crumbled overnight. She tried to message me a few times, texts filled with guilt and half apologies. "I know I messed up, but we can fix this." I never replied. I'd spent too many nights patching up her chaos to fall for another performance. Meanwhile, focused on reclaiming what she'd taken. I cleaned out the car, replaced the locks, and listed it for sale. The dealership helped me finalize the transfer, and when the payment hit my account, I used it to pay off the remaining loan. My credit, though bruised, was salvageable. Watching those numbers rise again felt like watching sunlight break through storm clouds after months of darkness. Jenna called one evening just to check in. "You really did it, huh?" she said, half amused, half awed. "You took everything back?" I smiled faintly. "No," I said. "I just stopped giving it away." Mia's life went downhill fast. She lost her job after skipping too many shifts, and mutual friends said she'd been crashing on couches, still blaming everyone else for her situation. It should have made me feel vindicated, but instead, it just made me sad. There was a time I would have done anything to save her. Now, I couldn't even picture her without feeling tired. One afternoon, I saw her outside a grocery store, hair messy, eyes dull. She saw me too, but neither of us said a word. She just looked away. Driving home, I realized something important. Revenge doesn't always feel like triumph. Sometimes it just feels quiet, empty, even. But beneath that silence was something stronger than satisfaction. Peace. I hadn't won by hurting her. I'd won by walking away. And for the first time in years, I finally felt free from her shadow. Months passed, and the silence she left behind slowly turned into something I could live with. My days felt lighter, no more unpredictable calls, no guilt-ridden arguments, no fear of what new mess I'd have to fix. I started sleeping better, eating better, even laughing again. My coworkers noticed the change. "You seem different," one of them said. I smiled, because I was. I'd finally stopped measuring my worth by how much I could endure. I focused on rebuilding what mattered. I picked up freelance projects to fix my credit faster, took small weekend trips, and even joined a local gym. Each step forward felt like reclaiming a piece of myself that Mia had worn down. I wasn't chasing revenge anymore. I was chasing peace. Every now and then, someone would mention her name. "Did you hear what happened to Mia?" they'd ask. I'd shrug. But eventually, curiosity got the better of me. Through mutual friends, I learned she'd lost almost everything: her apartment, her car, even her so-called friends. Jared had moved on, leaving her to deal with the fallout alone. A part of me expected to feel vindicated, maybe even triumphant. But when I saw a photo of her, pale, tired, and unrecognizably, just felt nothing. She wasn't the monster I'd built in my head anymore. She was just a person who made choices she couldn't live with. One rainy evening, as I sat on my balcony with a cup of coffee, I realized I didn't hate her anymore. Hate kept me tied to her. Forgiveness, though, not for her but for myself, that was freedom. I whispered it into the rain. Like a secret confession, you don't owe her pain anymore. And for the first time, I believed it. But even as peace settled in, one truth lingered: when someone destroys your trust, You never see love the same way again. A year later, I stood in the same dealership where everything had started. The salesman didn't recognize me, but I remembered every corner of that place, the fluorescent lights, the smell of new leather, the pen Mia had used when she convinced me to sign my name on a loan that nearly ruined me. This time, though, I wasn't there to co-sign for anyone. I was there for myself. I bought a modest car, nothing symbolic, just mine. I ran my hand along the hood and smiled. The difference wasn't in the car. It was in me. I wasn't the man desperate to prove his worth through someone else's happiness anymore. I'd learned that love built on manipulation isn't love it's control dressed as affection. Driving home, I took the long route past the coffee shop where I'd first seen Mia and Jared together. The sight didn't sting anymore. It felt distant, like watching an old movie you've already outgrown. I thought about how easily I'd trusted, how willingly I'd ignored the red flags because I believed loyalty could fix everything. But loyalty without respect is just self-sacrifice, and I'd finally stopped confusing the two. When I pulled into my driveway, I sat in silence for a moment, watching the sunset reflect off the windshield. The quiet didn't feel empty anymore, it felt earned. I realized that revenge hadn't healed me. Time, honesty, and learning to value myself again had. I turned off the engine and whispered to the empty car. She took my credit, but she couldn't take my character. That line stayed with me as I walked inside. Because the real win wasn't selling the car or fixing my credit, it was knowing I'd survived the betrayal without becoming bitter. And that, I think, is the best kind of revenge. Not anger. Not payback. Just peace.